So today we're gonna try to finish this Focus. We are halfway through. We got everything taken apart. We're down to replacing the head gasket. And in this video, you're gonna see me do the reverse process of what I did in the last video. I'm gonna try to go into a little bit more detail than I did in the last video because I mostly did time lapses. So stay tuned and check it out. So far, I've cleaned off the top of the head where the mating surface is. I cleaned 3 out of the 4 pistons. I left this one the way it was so you can see the difference and how it's gonna turn out. It doesn't look too bad. You can see where the old head gasket failed, where these dark spots are. That's where it was letting the antifreeze and the oil and all that stuff mix. These are the holes for the bolts. As you can see, there's still oil inside of there, so I gotta figure out a way to suck all that oil out of there, so that way we don't have that same problem we did before when we ripped out the cylinder studs. So right now I'm gonna clean out the rest of this one, and then I've already started cleaning off the mating surface of the headers because it's all rusted up. I want it to be as flat as possible when I put the new exhaust manifold gasket on. So that's what I'm gonna be doing now. I'm gonna put on the time lapse because it's gonna take a little bit of time doing that, but you already know and understand what I'm gonna be doing. Good to go. For this one being the piston taking most of the hit on this head gasket that was blown, it didn't come out too bad. As you can tell, this piston and this piston were the ones to take most of the blow with that head gasket, but mating surface is clean. Mating surface, you can't tell on camera, but it's decently smooth to the touch where the exhaust gasket meets. So what I'm going to do next, until I can figure out how I'm gonna suck up all that fluid that's in there, besides sticking a rag and screwdriver down there, I'm gonna move over to the head and clean the head now. There's not gonna be much to do to clean this head off, just mainly getting all the old oil out of these areas you see here that's holding them. I'm gonna use some of that some brake clean to clean these out, and then use a rag to wipe it down. I'm gonna clean off the mating surface here for the intake, as well as cleaning off the surface here for the exhaust. store and grab some assembly lube. Gotta grab some assembly lube so that way I can put it on these right here for when I put the cams back on. And I'm gonna put some around these just because. Alright, so I'm gonna finish drying this off, and I'm gonna run to the store, get some assembly lube and some spark plugs. Okay, so here we lie, all cleaned up. Got the spark plugs out. I pulled off camera. I pulled each and every one of these. I don't know what they call them. I'm gonna call them valve spring sleeves. I took all these out, wiped them down because it still had some of that coffee oil on here, so I cleaned them out, spit them out, cleaned up the mating surfaces on both sides. So bought myself some assembly lube so that way I can throw some assembly lube on these areas here when I get the head back on the motor. Assembly lube. I'm also going to take each and every one of these things off and lube them up because it should be lubed because the cam presses down on this to open up the valve. So I'm going to lube up every single one of those. Lube up these right here. And then move on to the next step. That's plugging everything up top.
It's DJ.
You can get some.
Okay, what you see me in the time lapse do was I put the head gasket on after wiping a few things down. I was getting all the oil that I could out of those wells for the studs. I blew it out with the air hose, and I put the head gasket on. I put the head up at an angle, left it there to give me room to reconnect the clips for the fuel injectors. After I did that, the head fell in place. Then I went ahead and I attached the intake manifold. The bolts are loosely tightened. All those bolts up here and then the one bolt on the bottom. Then I went ahead and I reconnected the ground wire that goes here. And then I went ahead and reconnected this part you see here. There. You got the 4 bolts, 2 up top, 2 on the bottom. Be careful that the new gasket doesn't fall off like it did on me. I had to put it back on. So I did that. So next what I'm going to do is I'm gonna torque down the head studs in order, the order I displayed in the previous video, which I'll throw in a picture of it again right now so you can see it again and copy it if you'd like. But that's what you're going to see me do here in the time lapse. I'm going to tighten these. I'm going to tighten them first in order, 22 foot-pounds, and then I'm going to go around again and tighten them to, it says 37, I'm going to go 38 foot-pounds, and then it says to do a 90 to 120 degree angle after you tighten it. So I'm going to just do a 90 degree after that. So that's what you're going to see me doing the time lapse. Then we'll pick up again so I can throw assembly lube on the parts that's going to need it. All these here, assembly lube. Then you're going to see me take these off. I'm going to put assembly lube on those as well. So now the cylinder head bolts are torqued down. Like I said, I did the 22 foot-pounds all around. Then I went 38 foot-pounds around. And after I did the 38, I went around and I did the 90 degrees all the way around. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna throw some assembly lube on those parts I was talking about earlier. I'm gonna first start off with these. I'm gonna go ahead and throw some lube around. Some assembly lube all the way around this thing here. I'm just putting it on the bottom portion because when you slide it in there, it's gonna spread it itself. And there it goes. You don't want any of these things to be dry when you first start your car, because these things are metal on metal. So these are some of the things you want to make sure is lubed up prior to the motor cycling the new motor oil through the engine. So it never hurts to add some assembly lube on these parts. Especially after the type of cleaning we did on this head. Have these nice and lubed up, ready to go. See that? Nice and smooth. Ask your lady. A little bit of lube didn't hurt nobody. And say, I'm just telling you the truth. A little bit of lube didn't hurt nobody. Right. I'm just gonna throw a little dab on the tops, because that's where the lobe of the the camshaft, that's where it touches. Give that a little bit of lubrication. So I'm going to go ahead and use my finger for this one and lube this up here. Yeah, I'm gonna put a dab on these first.
It's tacky.
No, it's just a little like thickish. There you go. Spread it on there a little bit. There you go. I'm gonna clean whatever excess I put up here, so that way it's not on there when we go to put our valve cover on. At least on the outsides. All right, so next thing you're gonna see me do is I'm gonna start putting these caps on. Well, obviously I gotta put the cams on, but I'll come back on to live with that. But I'm gonna put this one cap on here to include the other part that comes in the back, which you'll see me on the time lapse just start putting the cams on with the caps, and then I'll come back and then I'll torque them down after that. So you're gonna be on time lapse, and that's what you're gonna see me doing. Alright, so I'm putting this part on, and I wanted to make sure I put in that this part right here, it's gonna ride. You see the little wheel? It's gonna ride on the end of this camshaft that's over here on this side. Here, let me show you. Unplug it. Right there. This is gonna ride on top of that. So when putting this in, you're gonna have the wheel facing in, and mind the notch. The notch goes with the notch that's in here, so it'll slide in right in that notch like that. But if you hear metal on metal, and what did I say about metal on metal? It doesn't hurt to lube it up when starting off. So let's throw some assembly lube on this. I'm also gonna throw some on this wheel.
Is it gonna spread when it moves?
Yep. It'll spread itself as it moves, and then this is just to lube it up prior to the oil getting through the system, because this is gonna be all filled with oil. So I'm gonna set this aside real quick. I'm gonna set this aside somewhere clean-ish, so I can first put this on the end here. Cause this is gonna come and sit here at an angle like this. So it's gonna sit like this at an angle. So after you're gonna hit this in softly with a rubber mallet so you can get this flush. Then you screw these in. Then you take this, you screw it in with your bolts here. And then after you got your bolts in, then you take that and then you slide it in there, and then this connects to the top of that. So I'm gonna do this real quick, and before I connect this to this, I'll get back to the regular video. Okay, there we have it. It's connected. All right. Now, don't forget that this part right here comes with a new gasket in your kit, as well as this part right here has an O-ring gasket in your kit as well that goes on the other side of this. You should be able to see it. So after you get these screws screwed in, right there, there's 3 of them. These nuts right here, those 3 nuts, are for these brackets right here that are flopping around. You can see right there, this one goes around that right there. Right there. I'm not sure if you can see, but back there, you see it goes right here, along with the other ones on the other bolts. But I'm gonna do that on the time lapse. But as you see, this is all in. I torqued this down to 15 foot-pounds because the journals for the camshaft, they all get torqued down to 15 foot-pounds, and they also go in order, which I'll throw another picture up on the screen here, so that way you can see what order you tighten them in, or you can draw it, take a picture or whatever, and you can have it for your records as well. So I'm gonna throw this on a time lapse. What you're gonna see me do next is throw the other camshaft in, and I'm gonna start tightening the journals, and then after that I'll go back on the video and we'll see what we can do about this timing chain, because on mine's, when I took the timing chain off in the last video, the camshaft moved. But right now, from what it looks like, this camshaft is in the same position it was at before, almost at the position it was at before. So we'll see how this works out for us. Okay, got everything all torqued down. Everything's looking good so far. So my next move is going to be putting that timing chain on. And as you can tell, when I first started this, these cams were at pretty much this angle right here. So when I first started off, this cam was the way it was, maybe a little bit more to the left, but this one was the same way. And if you can tell, it's moved all the way to the right. The writing that's right there, all the way to the right when it was at the same angle. Pretty much this bolt. So pretty much this bolt here should be up here. This bolt here should be a little bit to the left right here. According to my timing marks, the marks that I did before I took the timing chain off. So hopefully everything lines up the way it did when I first started. So it didn't give me a problem. But that's what I'm gonna do next. I'm gonna throw the timing chain down there. I'm gonna throw this wheel back on. You can see my mark right here. You can see my mark right here. I'm gonna point to it right here. This also moved, I believe. Yeah, that also moved. It should have been a little bit more too. Actually, no. No, that's about right. Yeah, that's about right. So, okay. Shouldn't have moved. I don't see how it would have. So, the crankshaft is this in this position when I first started. These two I might have to finagle a little bit when I get the timing chain put on. So I'm gonna mess with that real quick and then I'll get back onto the video.
Alright, so I'm stuck at doing the timing. So the next video is going to have to be the timing and how I do that process. So this video is gonna end here and then we'll pick up on the next ones. Thank y'all for watching. Peace.